Greetings everyone, your old pal WTR here with a look at the Hobgoblin from Wave 2 of the Spiderman Classics line. Funny story, I actually intended him to be my very first review, but just because, he's so daunting of a figure, I didn't get around to him until now. I've really felt that I can better express why I mean to within the allotted amount of time, but I got him back in whenever, I think it was 2001 or 2002. I wasn't impressed with him then, and a lot of these same issues I had really apply to now, but I do recognize that he's a really, really cool figure, just from the amount of detail and so forth put into the sculpt. He really is on par with the early Marvel Legends figures that were coming out around that time. And, I guess part of that's because he's billed as being superposable, but there are many, many different ways to pose him, because the hood's removable, the cape's removable, and you can take him in and off, on and off his glider. But if you do remove him from the glider, like a lot of the earlier figures, he is horrendously out of scale. He stands like 7 inches tall. And even when he's like crouching down like this, where's my ruler? Where he's like really crouching and everything, he still stands like a little under 6 inches. But first problem, of course, is the fact that, by the way, I've got to turn on the other light at some point during this review, because he does look a lot darker than what I'm seeing on my screen right now, but that might just be look. But the hood, or actually the cowl and the cape, are a little bit off. The cape's got a glossier look and it's a lighter brown, whereas the hood is a deeper brown. But the problem with the hood is it doesn't ever come completely close to being on his face. And of course, I actually wasn't really enthusiastic about the face, but at the time I really wanted a Hobgoblin figure, because Hobgoblin's like one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. But this is the Jason Masondale, more demonic look, before he'd go on to be the Demogoblin, and they actually did a repaint for him as the Demogoblin using this exact same thing, down to everything, just completely different paint job. And of course they gave a new head sculpt and changed a few other things, and he also became a Green Goblin in I think one of the box sets. I don't remember offhand though. Masondale, of course, was the second Hobgoblin. He was previously another supervillain called I think it was Jack-o'-lantern, where he worked as a mercenary. Look at that face. Creepy looking dude. He also kind of really fits into like any fantasy setting, just because he does look like an ogre or an orc or whatever. And of course the clothing's just like strictly out of that time. Especially his hood, which looks completely awesome on its own, but as soon as it's on him, it looks like completely crappy. It's like the two ear holes don't you have a notch up here for like one ear, then you've got like a hole here for another, but I've never been able to center it in such a way that an ear's sticking out and the other ear's in. Instead, it's always got part of this covering one eye. And of course, I really don't like the face in terms of the tongue and so forth. In fact, if not for the tongue, it would be a great looking figure. And in general, it's a pretty great looking sculpt. I've many times been tempted to buy a second one and just shave down the head, then take the mask part from the one of the DC Direct Scarecrows, pop it on there, just make a custom Scarecrow, because it would look totally badass, because he's definitely got a Scarecrow body here with all the thin limbs and everything. The cape is also detachable. I kind of feel like I'm playing a game of striptease or something here, but whatever. Unfortunately, when the cape and hood are together, or cowl, whatever you call it, they don't really fit well in the figure, because it's got to attach into this little segment here. And then, of course, it's kind of bulky at the top, because it doesn't really fit in well. And this is kind of bulky here, so it's always a bit of flash. Whatever. But in terms of articulation, he's got a point at each of the elbows. The forearm does twist, or I thought it twisted, but maybe it's just the bicep. Well, whatever it is doing this, but it looks like he's got a bicep. There it goes. One bicep joint is working, the other one isn't, but still, this thing will twist in all the ways, so the bicep's kind of redundant or so forth, but could have sworn that twisted, but I guess maybe it doesn't. Look at that. Is that the Hobgoblin or is that Venom right there? I mean, come on. That just looks totally crazy. Oh, his paint job's just totally sick, too. I mean, he's just got so many different tones and so forth. Part of it looks like because they didn't really, I don't know, just really go over all the things, but I mean, it's a really weird shade of like blue mixed with brown and so forth, which gives it a really dark look. Unfortunately, there's a bit of paint loss up here, which shows that the underneath this it originally was some shade of blue. So, but he's got this one point at the shoulder here, which I've always totally loved that joint there, which kind of causes the elbows to pop out, which looks cheap from behind, but with the cape on you'd never ever notice it. And you know, very few figures actually make use of this even to this day, so it lets him do like all sorts of like crazy grabs and so forth. And of course he can look like he's totally choking somebody out. Rawr. The original Hobgoblin was the guy who perfected, who found Harry Osborn, not Norman Osborn's gear, and then the original chemical, and he perfected the chemical to not make himself insane. That one was, I think it was Roderick Kingston or Kingsley. Can't remember offhand, but this one didn't have any sort of special formula or anything, give him super strength. He was just a normal guy with a fair amount of skill. The glider has incredible looking detail. And look at that, that's one sick glider. It's totally amazing. And thanks to his boots, he does fit on pretty well. Looks like it attaches something, but I don't remember anything else being in here, not even a comic. He's also got little peg holes in the feet, but nothing to attach that to. He's got a thigh joint, but mine is stiff because I haven't really moved it in forever. But it would twist under normal circumstances. Ball joint at the leg. It's got a full range of articulation basically, but to a certain extent it won't go any further. Single pointed knee. Shoot. There it goes. See, the calf moves. I thought it moved up here just like that, but I guess it might not. Then of course he's got a single point down at the ankle / foot. And the head can do wherever you want it to. Goes up a bit, and go down slightly, and twists all around. You can even do the hokey pokey. All in all, you can just do so much with the figure. But I mean, it really looks great. It looks better with the hood on and so forth, the cowl. As you can see, he's almost up to 7 inches. Actually, he's only a little bit above 6.5 inches maybe, so he might not be that horrendously out of scale. I can't remember how tall the actual character is, or so forth. I always preferred the Hobgoblin for like the most trivial of reasons. That's simply because of the color scheme, where he went for an orange or brown with a blue, which I thought was just really terrifically in Halloween and so forth. So he had a much more sinister look to him. Whereas, I mean, the Green Goblin was just so brightly colored that, although, you know, Norman Osborn is just the biggest of Spider-Man's arch-enemies, arguably. Actually, I wouldn't even go with arguably. I mean, let's say he is, because he did knock off Gwen Stacy. He's done a ton of other stuff, like kidnapping Peter and Mary Jane's unborn kid and so forth. So, and of course, he's the leader of the Dark Avengers. But I mean, just like looking at the costume, you know, I could never take Norman Osborn all that seriously. Whereas, you know, Hobgoblin, Although, I mean, basically Hobgoblin was more of just like a generic thug slash thief than a master planner at times. Although he was voiced by Mark Hamill in the animated series, and Mark Hamill would go on to do Joker in the Batman animated series, among other things, which was actually a really cool bit of trivia because Mark Hamill played the most iconic of all heroes ever. Luke Skywalker would just go on to do like nothing but bit pieces for villain voice work, and even like body bags and stuff. He plays a guy who like goes insane and like starts to kill people. I think that was in the eye segment. It was like the last segment. It was a completely terrible story, but all in all, it's a really solid figure. I would recommend picking it up, if only to customize it to something else.